There's a moment just before you fall asleep when your body does something strange. Your muscles twitch. Scientists call it a hypnic jerk. Most people assume it's a glitch, a misfiring nerve, something meaningless. But some researchers believe it's far older than that, a fossil. A behavioral relic from a time when falling asleep in the dark was not peaceful surrender, but genuine risk. A time when closing your eyes meant something could find you before you opened them again. The twitch, they suggest, was an ancient alarm, a last check. Are you safe? We don't live in that world anymore, but the alarm is still firing. Most people think of fear of the dark as a childhood phase, something you grow out of. That's not what it is. Fear of the dark is one of the most ancient, universal, and biologically embedded responses in the human animal. It predates language, it predates civilization, it predates by millions of years anything we might call culture. And what's genuinely unsettling, when you look at it closely, is that the fear was entirely rational. Not superstition, not ignorance, survival mathematics. Here is a fact that rarely appears in history books, but defines nearly everything about who we are. For roughly 2 million years, human beings were prey. The fossil record tells this story with uncomfortable clarity. Skulls of early Homo species, drilled by eagle talons, crushed by leopard jaws, punctured by hyena teeth. Ancient campsites scattered not with the bones of animals humans had hunted, but with the bones of humans that animals had carried there. We were, for an almost incomprehensible stretch of time, something that other things ate. And the vast majority of those things, the leopards, the hyenas, the lions, the saber-toothed cats that vanished only 12,000 years ago, did their most efficient hunting at night. The human eye has a specific catastrophic flaw. In full daylight, we can track movement, assess threat, read depth, but as light fades, the cones responsible for detail and color become nearly useless. In true darkness, we are functionally blind. A leopard in that same darkness sees with approximately 6 times our sensitivity. Its tapetum lucidum, a reflective layer behind the retina, catches every photon we have already surrendered. In the dark, we could not see what was hunting us, but it could see us perfectly. This is where the fear begins. Not in myth, not in childhood, in the documented biological reality of what night meant across 2 million years. But here is where the story becomes something stranger, because ancient humans did not simply fear the dark. They were obsessed with it. The earliest confirmed use of fire dates to roughly 1 million years ago. Researchers who study ancient behavior argue that fire's most important gift was not warmth, not cooked food, it was light. And light, in a world where darkness meant death, was not merely practical. It was the line between existence and obliteration. In 2018, researchers studying Kalahari Bushmen recorded what people talked about during the day versus what they talked about at night around fire. The difference was not one of degree. Daytime conversation was practical, food, land, social arrangements. But by firelight, people talked about transformation, the supernatural, moral order, the dead, and what follows death. The researchers called it a cognitive shift. Something about darkness, about a small circle of light inside an infinite surrounding black, produced different thinking, more expansive, more afraid, and more creative because of that fear. The night, they concluded, was where the human mind first learned to reach beyond what it could see. In a cave in southern France, 17,000 years ago, human beings descended into absolute underground darkness, carrying only animal fat lamps, and painted. Researchers spent decades debating why. Ritual, magic, record keeping? But one researcher noticed something that shifted the conversation entirely. The paintings were not in the accessible places. The artists had gone deeper, into the darkest chambers, past narrow passages where a single extinguished flame would mean complete and total blindness. They chose the dark, not fleeing from it, moving toward it, with their art, with whatever it was they were trying to say to the darkness, or to whatever they believed lived inside it. This is not primitive superstition. This is something so sophisticated, it took us 17,000 years to begin asking the right questions about it. We extinguished the dark, gas lamps, electric streetlights, LED screens, the bedroom smartphone emitting blue light calibrated accidentally at exactly the frequency that tells the human circadian system it is noon. We told our ancient nervous systems the night is gone. Sleep disorders now affect roughly 1/3 of adults in industrialized countries. Anxiety, characterized in part by threat simulation that cannot be turned off, is among the most prevalent conditions in the developed world. Melatonin production has immeasurably declined in populations with high artificial light exposure. We removed the dark to feel safer, and something went wrong. Ancient humans were terrified of the dark. That is accurate. The fear was real, physical, carved into human biology by an almost incomprehensible span of selection. Every person alive today is descended from ancestors who felt that fear correctly. But here is what gets lost in the fear narrative. They also spent 2 million years in intimate relationship with darkness. They knew its sounds, its timing, its particular quality of silence at different hours. They were afraid of the dark, the way you might be afraid of the ocean, while also being someone who has lived beside the ocean their entire life, who cannot imagine existing without it. We removed the dark in the name of safety, in the name of the very fear our ancestors felt, but never fully escaped, and perhaps never wanted to. Because inside the fear was something they understood instinctively, and we are only now beginning to articulate. That to exist in genuine darkness, to feel the actual scale of the universe, the actual smallness of a single life, is not only terrifying, it is also true. And perhaps that is what the hypnic jerk is, in the end. Not a malfunction, but the body asking, at the threshold of unconsciousness, in the last moment before the self dissolves, the oldest question it knows. Are you safe? And us, in our lit rooms, on our lit screens, in cities that have abolished the night, answering every time without knowing we are answering. I don't know. I've never been able to see that far into the dark.